Aesop's Fable EP24, The Perseverant Turtle and the Mountain of Success. Scene 1, The Challenge Ahead. In a peaceful forest nestled at the base of a towering mountain, there lived a humble turtle named Toby. Toby was known for his slow but steady pace and his thoughtful nature. One day, while the animals of the forest were gathered by a clear, sparkling stream, they began to talk about the mountain that loomed over their home. "The view from the top must be breathtaking," said a swift deer. "But it's far too difficult for any of us to climb." The other animals nodded in agreement, convinced that the steep and rocky terrain was impossible to scale. However, Toby, who had been quietly listening, felt a stirring in his heart. He had always admired the mountain from afar and dreamed of reaching its peak. "I will climb the mountain," Toby announced suddenly, his voice calm but determined. The other animals looked at him in surprise. "You, Toby?" the deer asked, astonished. "But you're so slow. It would take you forever to reach the top." Toby smiled gently. "Perhaps," he replied, "but I believe that with patience and perseverance, I can do it. I may be slow, but I won't give up." The animals were skeptical, but they respected Toby's determination. They wished him luck as he set off on his journey, though many doubted he would succeed. Scene 2, The Difficult Climb. Toby began his climb early the next morning. The path was steep and filled with obstacles, sharp rocks, loose gravel, and thorny bushes. With each step, Toby had to use all his strength to move forward. It was exhausting, and more than once, Toby had to stop and rest, but he never thought about turning back. As the days passed, Toby encountered various challenges. A rushing stream blocked his path, and Toby had to carefully navigate the slippery rocks to cross it. Further up, the path narrowed, and the wind howled, threatening to push him back down the mountain. Despite the difficulties, Toby remained focused on his goal. Each time he faced a new challenge, he reminded himself of his determination to reach the top. "One step at a time," he would say to himself. "Slow and steady will get me there." Meanwhile, the other animals watched from below, expecting Toby to return at any moment, defeated by the impossible task. But Toby kept going, his slow and steady pace carrying him higher and higher up the mountain. Scene 3, The Final Push. After many days of climbing, Toby finally reached the last and most difficult part of the journey. The peak was in sight, but the path was the steepest it had ever been. The rocks were sharp, and the air was thin, making it hard to breathe. Toby was tired, his muscles ached, and his shell was scratched and worn from the climb. But he was also closer to his goal than ever before, and he refused to give up. "I've come this far," he thought. "I can't stop now." With renewed determination, Toby began the final push toward the summit. Each step was a struggle, but Toby kept going, inch by inch, foot by foot. The climb was the hardest thing he had ever done, but he didn't let doubt or fear enter his mind. He focused only on the peak, reminding himself that perseverance would see him through. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Toby reached the top of the mountain. He pulled himself up over the last rock and stood at the summit, looking out over the vast forest below. The view was more beautiful than he had ever imagined. The sky was clear, the air was crisp, and the sense of accomplishment filled Toby's heart with joy. Scene 4, The Triumph of Perseverance. As Toby stood on the mountain peak, the other animals gathered far below noticed his small figure silhouetted against the sky. They couldn't believe their eyes. Toby had done it. He had reached the top of the mountain. The animals cheered for Toby, their voices echoing up the mountainside. Slowly, Toby began his descent, careful not to rush, knowing that patience and perseverance had brought him this far. When he finally returned to the forest floor, the animals crowded around him, eager to hear about his journey. "How did you do it, Toby?" the deer asked, still amazed. "It must have been so difficult." Toby smiled, his eyes shining with pride and humility. "It was difficult," he admitted. "But I knew that if I kept going, step by step, I would eventually reach the top. Perseverance is what made it possible. No matter how slow or how hard it was, I didn't give up." The other animals nodded, impressed by Toby's wisdom. They realized that his journey up the mountain was not just about reaching the summit, but about the strength of character he had shown along the way. Toby had taught them that even the most challenging goals could be achieved with patience, determination, and a willingness to keep going, no matter what. From that day on, Toby was admired not just for his successful climb, but for the lesson he had shared with the entire forest. The animals learned to approach their own challenges with the same perseverance, knowing that with time and effort, they too could achieve their goals. Moral of the story: perseverance and determination can help you overcome even the most difficult challenges. By taking things one step at a time and never giving up, you can achieve your goals, no matter how daunting they may seem.